Hi, so today we have Lydia Elle, and I'm going to interview her for my blog. I'm Corey Walmsley. I'm a writing coach, book editor, and author. And Lydia wrote her book. What year was that you wrote it?
2015, so
2015.
3 years ago.
Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit about her experience with writing and, challenges and all of that kind of stuff. So if you can start out by telling me just a little bit about your book, what made you want to write it?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for having me. It is truly a pleasure. I wrote my book honestly because I felt like I was called to. I really thought that there was a void in the marketplace in regards to the message that I presented. My book is called And So I Prayed, and it is a journey through life difficulties from the perspective of while you're in it. And so often I had read so many wonderful books of different people who spoke to the challenges and highs and lows and such, but they were always out of whatever the experience was. And I was still kind of dealing with quite a bit at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to give solace and compassion to the reader who feels like they haven't yet arrived to this place of full awareness and evolution. And so I presented really from the state of speaking about doubt and fear and all of those things that, you're supposed to say 5 mantras to overcome that
Mm-hmm.
don't necessarily penetrate the way that you may want them to or intend them to at the time. And I really wanted to give an honest perspective to, some of the feelings that aren't spoken about, but we all kind of have to navigate through. And so, yeah, that was my process. It was therapeutic in a way, but it was something I was afraid of because I knew that when people read it, they would be like, "Oh man, we had no idea such and such and such." But the response that I got to was one of thanks that people didn't feel alone in their process and in their journey, which was the overall goal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. That's actually why I wanted to talk to you. I usually ask people why, what sets their book apart from the rest of the books in the genre. And I think one of the things that does make yours unique is you're in the middle of your journey.
Mm-hmm.
And, like you said, people usually write about it at the end. So I thought that was a very interesting perspective to put on it, too.
Mm-hmm.
So can you tell me a little about what your experience was with writing before you started writing your book?
I don't really consider myself a writer. I am a songwriter,
Mm-hmm.
but I think I majored or started to major in English in college.
Mm-hmm.
And I am British born, so I'm from London, England. And then I moved to Canada. So my perspective and experience and point of view is different from being here in America. So
Mm-hmm.
I decided I was going to major in English. And I remember I wrote down some sentence and I wrote the word color, and the lady corrected it. And I was like, yeah, I don't think this is the major for
Yeah.
me. Because clearly, I'm like, it's right. And, rightfully so. She's like, it's wrong.
Yeah.
And that kind of was a small, what I felt snippet into what could be an issue and really stifle what I thought was my creativity. I had published an article or two in high school in a couple magazines,
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't something that I was really intending to elaborate on. And so I actually majored in mathematics.
Right.
So totally the other side.
Yeah.
But I have always, or what I have been told is through my creativity and the way that I approach or discuss certain ideas, that it is very colorful, that people can really experience what I'm experiencing by how I present and how I communicate. So fast forward to, my career with defense and such, and I became like a liaison and a communications kind of expert for technical stuff, which was really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, it wasn't the writing part that was important to me. It was just the compassion. Like I really, really felt alone through some of my experiences. And I was like, I just, who knows where we're just going to throw it on the wall and see if it sticks.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I did.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad you did go ahead and write that, even though you don't have the background. So since you did forgo the English degree, did you have any challenges while you were writing this? What would you consider would be the biggest challenge?
The biggest challenge I think is what everybody has in whatever path that they take that is unconventional and individual, which is I didn't know if I was good enough. Mm-hmm. The constant pressure of titles and metrics and your peers and competition and all of those things that we think are going to give us the proverbial gold star that says, yes, what you did was right. That is something that was a challenge as I was writing, mm-hmm. because even though I say that it was not for those accolades, there would be a part of me, whether it was ego or whether it was feeding the doubt and whatever insecurities I may have, that really wanted that finality that says, yes, what you did was the right decision. Mm-hmm. So outside of those internal conversations, I would say that there was no challenge, because it isn't like people were expecting me to write a book. They were just, they were living their lives. I was living mine. But, really making sure that what I wanted to communicate was presented clearly and presented thoughtfully. And of course, presented with a unique point of view. That was something that I grappled with. But I wrote my book. It was something that I prayed about and I felt like I should move forward. And I wrote it at nighttime while my daughter was sleeping in about a month.
Oh, wow.
We went through this process really quick. It just kind of like poured out of me. Mm-hmm. I would be getting scraps of paper and different things, and I have a bunch of notes all over the place. But it felt very intentional that this was the next step for where it is that I was to go. My second book has taken a little bit longer. I would say about 3 months or so. Mm-hmm. And that's the problem, right? Because again, now you have this benchmark where you're like, well, this is what I'm supposed to be or do or whatever.
Yeah.
But to me, that's the biggest thing. Everybody has an opinion about everything. And especially being a musician, somebody within reason or even not, somebody can sing a song and people can be like, oh, she sounds terrible. Mm-hmm. But then there's somebody else who's like she sounds amazing. Right. So, when it comes to these types of presentations, especially ones from the heart, I really believe that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And so if you can trust that the most, then you will be as committed to letting your beauty come out as possible.
Okay, I love that. So did you work with anybody during the writing process for your first book? We'll talk about the second one a little bit, but did you work with a coach or with any friends who were reading the chapters?
Yeah, I had a couple friends. I think, it was different people that I would just shoot them an idea that I was thinking of. I'm not really sure what I was expecting to get from it at the time. Well, I still do. I have a really close friend who's kind of walked with me through a lot of the things that I had to face in my emotional journey. Mm-hmm. And I tell people all the time, I'm a little crazy, and she happens to be a psychologist. So I think it's perfect. So in terms of getting a coach, I can't really say that was the intention for that particular connection, mm-hmm. but it was good to know that when people read what I wrote, that they heard what I was saying. Mm-hmm. I wanted to make sure that was clear. I did have a great editor, an amazing editor. Mm-hmm. And he was very affirming for my first book that it was written, pretty well. And I remember when I turned in the manuscript, I was totally nervous. Like I don't know how many bestsellers he's done, like a jamillion. So I was just ready for, like, when you turn in an essay to a teacher, like all red pen. Like I was expecting the whole thing to be like, this is terrible, like rewrite it.
Yeah.
He was really, really happy with the products. And so that was kind of like the first check, like, okay, maybe I'm going in the right direction.
Yeah.
But for me, I would say the coaching and such during the process, I think it would have hindered what I wanted to say if I was really allowing someone else to kind of come in and reshape my thoughts. Okay. And so I wanted to get it out as much as possible, almost to the end, and then really see kind of what needs to be just kind of reworked, almost like decorating a house or something. Like I want you to see what I'm thinking, and then you can make it better. Yeah. But I don't want it to be just totally from someone else's perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people work differently. So I always want to hear, how that happens. And doing it in a month, I think that's, I don't think a coach would be able to keep up with you on that one.
Yeah, it was, I didn't know what the plan was at the time, but like I said, it just kind of poured out. Like I would be up almost all night, a lot of nights.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. So what part did you enjoy most about the writing process?
When it was done.
Oh.
It felt like it was a responsibility that I had for this particular message. And as many people, there's pressure. I put pressure on myself, and I had a deadline in mind because I was doing a show in DC, and I wanted to unveil the book at that time as well. Okay. So when I first started writing it, I was just writing it, and then I was like, you know what, let's just do it for that. So I was happy when it was over. Yeah. It's like labor.
Okay.
The best part for me is when the baby's here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good analogy. Okay, and you did self-publishing, right?
I did, yeah. I went through Create Space with Amazon. They were really great. Mm-hmm. I used them for I think I might have used them for the typography, is that what it's called? Like the inside part.
And like the layout?
Yeah, but not the covers. Like I did the covers myself, which were really simple. I just went to one of my friends. He took a picture, and we just stuck it on the cover. Like it wasn't. Yeah, I know people were like, the cover is the most important thing. Yeah, it's gotta be. And I think I went to him after work. I was exhausted, and I was just like, we just need one good picture.
Yeah. Well, the cover is beautiful. I never would have expected you to say, oh, we just threw it all together.
Yeah, I mean, it just, you kind of just got to have the faith, you know what I'm saying? Like it just, at this point, it just has to work. And so I really tried to shut out so much of that chatter, because that can add to the pressure of the, is the eye right? And does it, like, I just take a picture. We need one.
Yeah.
We're going to roll with it. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So what was your experience with marketing with your book? Were you doing it mostly like with your talks or with your performances, that sort of thing? Or?
So I did a soft launch for my book in the summer, and then I did a formal, formal launch, the hard thing, on Amazon in November. Okay. Marketing for me was pretty much online. I was homeschooling my daughter at the time, so I really didn't have as much time to travel. Mm-hmm. And I really felt like I could leverage the internet. Mm-hmm. I felt like it had a much bigger reach than I ever could. Right. And so that is what I capitalized on. And I just used my friends and family who, anybody who's writing a book should probably understand that no matter how many friends and family you have, they will not help you get to the goals that you want.
Right.
You really need to expand the reach and the goal. Like, you gotta figure out how to grow it exponentially. And so, I had various people around me who were willing to be, what did I call them? I don't know, it was like champions or something. Like, I made this list, and then we rolled it out on a particular day. I told everybody to help me post on one day, and then it kind of took off from there.
Oh, did you have someone that you worked with for that plan, or did you just come up with what you were doing yourself?
I had someone who was working with me for all the stuff I didn't know. Like, I didn't know how to, like, I didn't know what the space was, so I had a coach to kind of help with figuring out how to do the marketing. Her name was Diane Needham. She was really, really good. And the part that was slightly different from what she had presented was that I was really savvy with social media. And so with her knowledge base, which was so broad, and then what I did with social media, it just kind of came together. I had all these ideas. I mean, I have a lot of friends who have, millions of followers and different things like that. And so, I really looked at their strategies for that type of growth, because again, I couldn't travel. Like, I can't get in front of 1 million people in a day.
Right.
And so, yeah, it all worked out together. And I had people around me who believed in the message. I think it was authentic when they shared what it was that I was putting out there, which was something I was really looking for.
Cool. Okay. So you had mentioned that you were working on a second book. At what point are you on that one?
So second book, this one is a little more, I feel like I should say cerebral, but it's calling for a different space in that it's primarily dealing with pain. And so as opposed to the first one, this one gets a lot more introspective. And so what's happening is, I think I've written quite a bit of it. I sent it to my editor, and he, had the red pen. But it makes me experience what I have gotten over a lot more, I think, than the first one. So I would say I'm about 80% done, but I decided to take my time with this just to see if a different outcome will happen. And I wanted to do more research, like clinical research and things like that for this particular manuscript. But I did like the process, because I'm really focusing on how we process experiences and such, which is making me very self-aware and very cerebral in how I process my own things as I'm sharing, some tools with other people.
Awesome. Do you have an idea of when you want to launch that?
Yeah. So I've been saying, let's see, when did I start writing it? I'm pretty sure, you know what? I think it's been a year. So I wrote it all in like 6 weeks, and I just put it down. And so much has happened in this last year now that I can't believe a year's gone by. I would like to get it out. Let's see. I'm going to say the early spring. I think I can do that. I will commit myself to doing that. Yes.
There you go. Now you said it, it's going to happen.
Yes, for sure.
Okay. Awesome. Well, we're looking forward to that.
Me too.
I'm sure. So to wrap it up, I'd just like to know what you would tell someone else who wants to start writing about their personal experience or, their story for their business.
Your story is not a luxury. I would say that your story and your experiences are necessary for someone else. So do not feel like you will get lost. There is someone out there who needs to find exactly what it is that you're presenting. So if you trust that through your entire process, what is supposed to happen for all of the people that you are to help will.
Fantastic. So is there anything else that you wanted to talk about that we didn't get to cover dealing with your books or your journey?
I would just say be reverent to it. You know, the pressure and all that stuff, just let it roll off as best as possible. Find people around you who love you in spite of what you do. But, you know, even if you didn't write a page today, they're still going to be your champions and your supporters and encourage you along your journey.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much for talking to me today. I really appreciate the interview, and I will post below this where people can pick up a copy of your book or learn more about you. So I'll get your email or your website on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lydia.
Thank you, Corey. Had a great time.
Thanks.